Hi, this is Kim Barrett. Welcome to All About Real Estate with Kim Barrett. Today I'm speaking to the buying public, and in particular those buyers who may have thought over the years about building a new home, or maybe you're thinking about it now, or maybe it's never been offered to you as an option to build. So let me start with misperceptions that buyers have about building. Sometimes these misperceptions are self-imposed, and some have been circulated by the realtor population in general. Real estate agents don't know a lot about new construction, so that's the first misperception: is all agents are created equal. Not so. It depends on their experience, their expertise, and a lot of different factors. So my industry, the real estate industry, like a lot of industries, is dependent on referrals and getting referral business from family, friends, neighbors, coworkers, past clients, etc. And so a lot of real estate business is done through referrals. There's nothing wrong with that, except it's really important that buyers or sellers interview the agent who's been referred to them. Ask key questions. You wouldn't have a brain surgeon do dental surgery on you, so make sure that whatever area you want to go and pursue as far as areas of real estate, because there's a lot of different areas of real estate. New construction is certainly one of them, but relocation, international, there is commercial investment, working with seniors. There's so much. So make sure that whatever area of real estate that you are looking to purchase or sell, that you have someone in your court who's going to bat for you and is going to protect that huge investment that you're going to make. So bottom line is, all agents are not created equal. Please make sure that you interview your agents before you make a final decision. Misperception number 2 is, I can't build within my budget. Well, unless you've been really qualified, you don't know that. And I don't mean just financially qualified. I mean qualified by sitting down with a professional who understands new construction, the cost of new construction, the process, etc., and can really tell you how much home you can afford, what kind of amenities you can afford at the price you want to pay. So don't rule out new construction is what I'm saying, unless you've spoken with someone who definitely can guide you in the right direction. The next misperception that I hear a lot about is, I don't need my own agent. Well, not so. If you're wandering around on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, we'll say, and you wander into a new home subdivision or a new home community, you probably want to stop at a model home. You probably want to talk to somebody, find out about the lots, how many, the size of the lots, the style of homes, the prices, the standard features. There's a lot of things you want to ask, and you're going to be, just remember the caveat here is, and buyers beware, is you're going to be speaking to a representative on site who represents the builder. So be very, very, very careful. First of all, I always tell buyers, don't ever give out any information that could compromise your ability to negotiate at a later date. So you do need your own representative, but you need a qualified representative to represent you to protect that investment. Number 4 misperception is, bigger is better. I hear that a lot. Actually, what I hear is from most buyers as they first come into my office and sit down to meet with me about building a new home, the first thing is, Kim, we want to build a 2,400 square foot, 2-story, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2-car garage home. And I stop them right there and say, we're not going to talk about square footage at all, because at the end of the day, here's the reality. It doesn't matter how big the house is. What's important is that you get the number of rooms that you need, and by that, the number of living spaces that you need. Do you need a living room and a family room, or would a great room suffice? Do you need a formal dining and an eating kitchen, or do you like the morning concept, etc., etc.? So how many rooms do you need? Where do you need the space? Do you need a larger family room or maybe a larger living room? Where do you need the space? Number 3 is, what amenities are most important to you? And I don't mean the 6-page wish list. That's crazy. I'm talking about those amenities or upgrades that you can't live without. If you can't have them, there's no sense in building. That's fair. And the last point is, what is the maximum price you want to pay for this new build? And I don't ask buyers the maximum price because I'm trying to sell them the most expensive new home. I ask that question so I can show them how much home they can purchase for X amount of dollars. So the next misperception that buyers have is the process starts with the architect. Not so. Please, please don't go to the architect first and get a plan drawn and then put it out to bid. The first thing you want to do is sit with a consultant, a professional who can tell you how much home you can afford and tell you where to stay square footage wise. See, remember I said we don't talk about square footage first because buyers don't know what things cost. So I understand 2,400 might sound like a nice square foot home, and but the bottom line is that we don't know. I don't know until I get further into the consult as to what the buyer can actually afford, whether it's a one-story or a two-story home. One-story homes are far more expensive to build than a two-story home, and so many buyers think the reverse. So, and then there's the amenities, and then there's just so much. So bottom line is the process doesn't start with the architect, because when you go in to meet with an architect, you tell him to build that you're thinking about building a 2,400 square foot home and you want this, this, and this, and this. He's just going to draw it. He doesn't care about the price of the home, which is another misperception that I think most buyers have, is they think when they go to the architect is not only going to design for them whatever they want, which he or she certainly will, but that they know what things cost. So the buyer might slip and say, we're thinking about building a $500,000 home and we want these rooms and these upgrades and amenities, etc. And they're assuming maybe that the architect is going to keep them within a certain price point because they mentioned $500,000, and so the architect's going to honor that. And bottom line is, architects don't really know what things cost, and they don't care. Their job is not to look out for your pocketbook. Their job is to design what you tell them you want in a new build. So make sure that those questions are answered by this consultant that I mentioned earlier, or someone that specializes in new construction, and have that consultant go with you to the architects. That's what I do. I go with my clients to the architect's office after we've had our consult to begin with and find out exactly how much home they can afford with these other things that they want. Like maybe they want a wooded lot or an upgraded lot. And then of course it's the upgrades, like I said, that can add so much cost. And then there's something that I know that people they're going to fluff. I call it fluffing, and that means that even after all of the pricing is done and we've figured that out, then what you have to figure is you're still going to go out shopping when it's time to make selections. And you're going to be selecting a few upgrades over and above the builder's standards, so we have to factor that in. And that's what I do. I not only look at the two-story or one-story. I start actually with the maximum price and I work backwards because I do know what things cost. And by the way, a specialist in new construction should not only know the new construction process, they should be able to read blueprints, they should know new construction contracts, and they should know the cost of new construction so that when they get a bid back from a builder with regards to the design that you're going to eventually present to the builder, your consultant can actually say, which I have said many times, Mr. Builder, Mrs. Builder, please go back and revisit your numbers on the fireplace or the patio or the hardwood floors. By the way, Mr. or Mrs. Builder, I do know what those things cost. So you want someone that can really protect your investment. Can you understand why someone who is referred to, I'm talking about an agent is referred to you by a friend or a family member, and maybe they've been in the business for a long time, or maybe they're brand new. It really doesn't matter. It's what's their expertise, and are they the right person to protect this extremely costly commodity that you're about to build. So anyway, the next misperception is all builders are created equal. No, just like real estate agents, not all agents are created equal, not all builders are created equal. And it's not the builder who builds the most expensive home that maybe is the best builder. And it's not the builder who builds for a lesser price that may be the least reputable or least qualified builder. I have my own formula when I sit down with a client to establish how much home they can actually afford, given the upgrades and amenities that they want, the upgraded wooded lot that's going to cost more than the average lot, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to make sure that the builders that I'm usually interviewing, because sometimes my clients will favor multiple subdivisions or multiple new home communities, and if that's the case, that's fine. We're going to eventually get a floor plan, a preliminary plan is what I'm looking for, from the architect, and we're going to take it out and around, and we're going to get builders to give us a bid. And then I do a side-by-side comparison. But I also have a lot of questions that I ask on behalf of my client about the subdivision or the community, the marketing process that they've been doing. How long have they been marketing? How many lots did they sell during that period? How many lots are there total? And I'm looking for absorption and how long this community is going to be in the process of building out. So not all builders are created equal. That's another misperception. Another one is I'll save money dealing directly with the builder. How do you know? I can tell you for sure, if you don't know exactly the cost of construction, and even if you did, builders have different profit margins. One builder builds at a certain profit margin, and maybe it's a very good base price per square foot that he's offering, but maybe he upcharges on the upgrades and amenities. Or maybe another builder is a little higher per square foot on the base price side of things, but he includes more upgrades and amenities as standard in all of his or her homes. So, you know, if you don't know all of the intricacies and the costs of building a new home, how would you ever know whether you're saving any money by working directly with the builder and his team as opposed to having your own representation? Chances are the builder is just profiting a higher margin if you are dealing directly with the builder. Another misperception is if I have an existing home to sell, I'll have to move twice. I have heard this one a lot from buyers and from realtors who seem to also have that misperception that if they take their buyer out to build a home and the builder says, well, you need to remove all contingencies before I start construction, which they usually do, that the agent is going to sell the contingency home because we've got to remove all of those contingencies, and they're going to have to close and move out of the house and move into a temporary space until the new build is complete, because the new build's going to take maybe 5 or 6 months. You know, selling an existing home could be done in this market, selling existing homes can take days, and then closing can occur maybe 45 to 60 days later. So you're removing your contingency so the builder can start construction on your new home, and you certainly don't want to wait till the closing of the existing home to start that 5 or 6 month process, so you want to get started sooner. Well, agents who don't understand new construction don't know what to do with the seller of the existing home while this new build is going on. And chances are they're not selling them a new build because they don't understand the process. But the other piece is that national statistics show that only 3.7% of agents nationwide know anything about new construction. And I don't know what they know, to be honest with you. So I would say that another reason to just make sure that you have your own representation that specializes in new construction so that they can coordinate the sale of the existing home and the building and closing of the new build, so that the idea is to coordinate and collaborate so that you have the closing dates and the closing dollars to work with. Everything has to line up. So I have never, in all the years I've been selling new construction, which is 40 years, I have never moved a new build buyer twice. When we sold their existing home, we just made sure we had a buyer that was willing to wait to move into that contingency home until the new build was ready. It's their issue. It's not our issue. We don't have to move out to accommodate a new buyer on the contingency home. The new buyer has to wait for our new build to be completed. So I just want you to understand, you're not going to have to move twice. I only one time moved a young couple twice who wanted to build a new home, and that was because they said to me, you know, Kim, we have no issues with moving out if the buyer needs earlier possession on our home, because my parents are not far from here and we'd be happy to move in with them for a few months. It's the only time ever in 40 years of selling new construction. So, and the last misperception I want to share with you is a shorter build time compromises the quality, excuse me, of the home. Not true. I have seen a phenomenal home built in 6 weeks. Now, that was a few years ago. It was an 1,800 square foot, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath home, 2-car garage, 2-story home. I didn't already say that. And it was completed in 6 weeks. Why homes take months to build? And of course, this market's different than the past. It's a very different market right now, not only on the build side, but on the existing side of things. In particular, it's the existing home situation. So it's not that it takes a long time to build a new home. It doesn't. It can take 6 weeks. The problem is lining up the contractors and scheduling them one after another so that the construction process flows. Unless a builder has their own crew, they're dependent on other crews who are probably out on other jobs and maybe jumping from one job to another job, and it's going to be a while before they get to this particular job. And so the builder has to take into consideration that piece, the labor and the contractors and how available they are. And also there's the time frame now for some materials. That in 40 years I've just seen a lot of different things go on when it comes to materials and the shortages that occur, and then the added cost that can occur, and then also the delays in scheduling and getting the materials to the job site when they are needed. So I hope that this has been helpful. It's important for me to share the misperceptions that people have from building for building, because I believe that building is the best. I mean, it can be the most exciting and creative process you're going to experience. Other than having a baby, I think building a home is so exciting, and it should be, and you should be getting exactly what it is that you really need and want for your family. So if you're thinking about building a new home, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you for joining me. God bless and have a great day. Hi, thanks again for tuning into All About Real Estate with Kim Barrett and listening to my video about the misperceptions about building a new home. If you liked the video, please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And I have put a link below in the description to my email address so that you can reach out if you have any questions. I am going to be creating a few more videos about new construction, so if there's anything in particular that you would like for me to talk about, please again put it in the comments or send me an email. I appreciate you so much. Have a great day.